back what, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Well, it started, yeah, about, I think in 16, the idea of it, and then we were able to get an agreement with the Federal Highway Administration to have a conduit system installed. So this will be our own fiber in our own conduit system. So it is not leased facilities. It'll be lumens. And they're working on just some of the final pieces of connecting it together. The vast majority of the fiber has been pulled. Equipment has been installed in each side. So they're just waiting on a couple more connections to do.
Okay, thanks for that update.
So Tim, just so I'm understanding where this fiber is, my understanding before was that it goes from Crested Butte on the western side of the mountains to Buena Vista. I always want to say Buena, but Buena Vista on the east side of the mountains, and that's what gives the additional connectivity to Gunnison. Is that correct, or am I?
Well, it doesn't come from Crested Butte.
Oh,
so
okay.
It starts north out of Gunnison towards Crested Butte, and then it hangs a right.
Okay, got it. The important point is that it gives Gunnison an additional path out to the east, whereas right now they just have a path to the west.
That is correct.
So we asked the question, what can be done to reduce the likelihood of a similar outage in the future in the Gunnison area, or to reduce the duration of such an outage if it occurs? And the response is that the Cottonwood Pass connection will minimize the potential for isolation and service outages, which it should if they have that alternate path. Additionally, as indicated in another investigation, the number of underground cable cuts continues to be a huge problem, with hundreds of cuts occurring annually to the Lumen network alone. And I don't know, after reaching out to the underground safety, they have a big long name, the Underground Safety Pipeline Commission, I don't know that locates are really much on their radar. They're looking more at making sure that gas pipeline cuts don't, cause an immediate public safety hazard. So,
well, they do look at those, though. You can bring a complaint to that damage, underground damage prevention safety commission. If you're not performing locates, or if locates were incorrect, or there was some other issue associated with that. So they do look at those cases. But your point is well taken, that their primary purpose is to ensure that someone doesn't hit a gas line and cause an explosion.
Right. Is there additional, and this is what I'm trying to get at, is whether or not this is a topic that maybe needs to be broken out into the legislative committee or something. Is this something that needs additional legislation to address?
It's a good question.
If one's getting so many locate requests that they just can't fulfill them all, and that causes people to go ahead and dig and cause problems like this, then that needs to be addressed.
Right. I don't know that there's a change of law unless you take more money out of the general fund, and that's not high on anybody's list these days. So the main issue is it's just a manpower issue.
Mm-hmm.
There just aren't enough locators out there. Although I did just see that a new company came on. I just saw their name about a week or so ago. So maybe there's some hope for some more folks entering that line of business.
Is there a lot of money to be made in that business? Because if so, maybe we can do some advertising. And
I don't know. I mean, with the sheer volume of tickets, you get, I think you get like $7 a ticket or something, and there's 1 million tickets. So there's some money. I just don't know what your liability insurance is going to cost you. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's,
I imagine that's a big consideration. So the next question was a locate performed, and was it performed correctly? There were not any physical locate markings. However, the 811 provided an all clear to proceed with the boring project. I did reach out to 811, and they assigned somebody to start attending these meetings. I don't know if they're on today. I'm trying to remember the name of the person. I don't see anybody on here I don't recognize. But I'll just ask the question, is anybody from 811 on the call today? All right, not hearing anything. Maybe this first meeting was just a conflict for them. I'll reach back and make sure they're able to participate in future meetings, because I do think that would be their input would be valuable on these matters, so we can get a better idea of how the 811 clearance process works.
Daryl, this is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
JCCA is a tier 1 member. Just FYI, I know enough to be dangerous. I may be able to answer some things.
So, and I hate to put you on the spot and ask you to guess as to what happened with this one, whether 811 just provided an all clear because they couldn't get a locator out there, or
I would think that highly unlikely. It may have been there was a communication problem between 811 and the locator, but I seriously, I don't think 811 would give an all clear of any kind.
So my understanding is how it works is they call 811, they give a general location or GPS coordinates. 811 looks it up in their database to see if there are any underground facilities there in their according to their database. And if there are, they have to have a locate performed, and if not, they're given the all clear. That's my very layman's understanding of the process. And if we have someone from 811 on, maybe they can help fill in those gaps there.
And the only way they have a record is if whoever the owner of the fiber is participates in 811 as likely a tier 1 member. In other words, we have to upload our records, and that's
Right.
what they reference. So, it's possible that there may not have been a record in the system for that particular stretch. Or
Tim, do you know if CenturyLink provides their facility locations to 811
yes, we do.
statewide? Okay. And if this wasn't leased fiber, right? This was CenturyLink's own fiber that was cut.
I believe that's correct.
Okay. Because that might make a difference if it's leased fiber and that leased fiber hasn't been uploaded to the database, but I don't think that's the case here. So I think this is maybe just a topic to keep a pin in and remember it for the future. If we can think of potential solutions, especially after we get the 811 people on the call to participate, and maybe they can help identify potential solutions. If it takes additional legislation to reduce the likelihood of the fiber cuts happening, then that's something that maybe the legislative committee can help with.
And I will, once I get something more concrete on timing, I will reach back out to this group and back to the county and the town as well.
I'm just going to make a note to myself to fill in this last one, because that's really for me to.
Tim, did I understand you to say that this new line from Buena Vista to Gunnison, is that in a highway right of way?
It is.
So so I thought last time the concern was there would be no work done on that during the winter because of snow levels. But does that apply if it's in a highway right of way?
It does, because it's what's considered Cottonwood Pass. It was just recently paved, but it is not paved during the winter months, and it does get several feet of snow up there once it does start snowing, just because it is so high. So while it is considered Cottonwood Pass and is a county road between us and Buena Vista, it is not maintained in the winter.
Just curious
I think
about that.
having a shoulder to conduct the work would be difficult with that kind of snow level.
Well, and I will clarify that we've already pulled it over the pass. So the last issue that we're working on is closer to the town of Gunnison. It's sort of kind of the junction where it goes from Crescent Butte, Gunnison, and then go east up to the pass. So it's down towards that area is some of the last work that needs to be done. So we at least are off the pass. Not that that improves a lot about snowfall, but we are at least not on the pass.
So
And that's
Tim,
kind of what I thought when.
pass, it's not accessible.
Say that again?
Even though you're off the pass, it's not accessible right now. Because
No.
County Road 742 Taylor Park, which that comes off of, is maintained during the winter.
So where is the road closed at? I'm going to go to the map here.
It would
On
be
the Chatham County side, it's not maintained at all. There's a gate that gets closed a few miles west of Buena Vista, and that's it. The only people that go up there past the gate are snowmobilers.
All right, where you have it connected on the Buena Vista side. So all of our work is on the Gunnison side.
And the Gunnison side, the closure is at the intersection of County Road 742 and 209. Daryl, I don't know if we can get in that far. If you can find the Taylor Park trading post there at the reservoir, we might be able to get into it.
The what trailer park?
Taylor Park trading post.
Taylor Park, not trailer park. Taylor Park.
Yeah, Taylor Park Reservoir.
You can tell I grew up in Missouri. I wouldn't even went to trailer park.
So if you want to back out just a little bit there, find 209, right where that intersects with either 742 or I think it's 765, is where the closure is on our side.
So there's 209.
Yep, so that's where Cottonwood Pass takes off right there.
Okay.
Where I can't see it well enough on your screen there. Where's 209?
Here's 209. I'm circling my cursor. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. We're to the west of that, where the work needs to still be done.
To the west?
Yes, to the west of that reservoir.
Oh, you're over here?
Yeah, we're not. All that is done where you're showing on your map. It's down closer to where 135 and 742 meet.
So if that's the case, that is completely maintained between CDOT and the county road and bridge, because we have houses up there that road is open.
Okay.
So hopefully it won't be too much longer. If that's an area that's being maintained and is accessible regardless of the snowpack up on the pass, then hopefully that's something that can be completed fairly soon. But I know you've said that you've kind of fought this battle internally for a while, trying to get this fiber connection completed. So I went ahead and put some tentative lessons learned in here. It's a little difficult to do in this case, but I said regarding the outage itself, the planned alternate path over Cottonwood Pass should reduce the likelihood of similar outages in the future. Regarding the lack of dial tone and local rerouting, despite the outage, the local central office should have been able to process calls, which should have allowed 911 calls to be routed to a 10-digit local number. Lumen is unable to provide an answer as to why the alternative routing was not initiated or why some users reported having no dial tone. That was my recollection of our last conversation on this outage. Tim, if I've got that wrong, please feel free to correct me.
I'm just looking at some notes here.
That one's really strange. With the Gunnison CO being not a remote. It's really odd.
It's odd that it's not a remote.
No, it's odd that people lost.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would agree.
I guess it depends on where they were located. But with the Gunnison CO being an independent CO, not a remote off of a host,
Right.
I can't imagine why someone would lose the ability to place a local call.
That is a true statement, Matt, and that is why some of our folks are baffled in the field by this, because they just don't understand why that would have been the case. All indications are that local calls should have still worked.
Are you guys looking into the source of the issue?
I guess kind of
But
a
we don't know
related,
what the source of the issue was.
Or to try to find it to prevent it?
and kind of a related question is, are you able to test it without actually taking it down and causing another outage?
I'm not sure. I know we've done some testing in the past where we did have to take things down. So let me ask that question.
Okay.
Because I would, yeah, I'd prefer not to take it down to test it, but I suppose we could test it at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Letting the PSAP and their backup know well in advance of that time.
Of course, yes.
All right, I'm going to put a note in here, Tim, that you're researching this further. So we will hopefully get more answers on that before we call this a completed report. Regarding the lack of notification to the commission or the PSAP, Lumen reported that it has internal systems that begin a timer when an outage occurs to ensure that proper notifications are made. That system did not function properly, and Lumen has been unable to reproduce the error. Is that, Tim, is there anything you want me to change in that or add to that?
Nope, I think that's fine.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add on the Gunnison outage before we move on to the next one on our list? So where this one is at, because Tim is still researching some things on it, I'm going to keep it in the committee. So we'll revisit this next time. All right, not hearing anything. I'm going to move on to Salida. This is special investigation for 20-36. We're still in 2020. This one, where are we at? So Tim has provided some answers on this one. So just let me give the brief overview of what it was first. So this was Salida, Colorado. Affected the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office Comm Center. The duration of the outage was 11.68 hours, well over the 900,000 user minutes that the FCC uses, but our threshold for special investigations is a 4-hour duration. This was an alley-only outage, so they were still receiving 911 calls, but they were not getting alley. And this was a card issue or equipment failure was the cause detail that we received from CenturyLink. There was late notification to commission staff, so that was another trigger for the special investigation. We received. Oh, I'm sorry. The duration of the outage was 11.88 hours. Time to notification of the commission was 11.68 hours. So they notified us really right before the outage was over. So the three questions I had to begin with were, why was the notification to the commission staff delayed? This outage began at 16:04 and not 7:30 as indicated in the report provided to the PUC. The first notification to the PSAP at 17:26 and the PUC at 18:59. delay was driven by the incorrect input of the start time and the manual changes to correct that time. So that changes quite a bit if our start time was not 7:30 in the morning, but was actually 4:04 in the afternoon. Is there anybody from Chaffey County on who can tell us what times you saw in terms of the start and end time of this outage?
Hey, Daryl, this is Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
I don't know the exact time. I kept the notification emails, but I'm working at home today, and I don't have that with me. I do know it was sometime in the afternoon when I got the first notification, and it was both a phone call and email.
And you don't know if there was any, you don't know when the outage actually started, you just know when you received the notification?
Correct.
Is there a way for you to check on that? Did anybody keep notes of when they started experiencing problems at the 911 center?
Not that I'm aware of, but when I'll be back in on Thursday,
Okay.
and I'll check then.
I'm going to make a note to myself that you're going to check on that. The cause provided by Lumen in its notification and update to commission staff was card issue. Can you be more specific what caused the outage? Your response was this outage was caused by a card failure. This particular card is located at the PSAP. Is it part of the PSAP's equipment or is it part of CenturyLink's equipment? Do you know, Tim?
I'm not clear on that, but I'm going to go with it was our equipment, not the PSAP's.
Okay. I think this kind of goes back to the concern that Kimberly raised on the last call, which is that a lot of these failures seem to be due to card failure, and it makes us wonder if, there's some specific point of failure that could be addressed. Are these cards aging out? Do they need to be replaced? What exactly is happening here? And I don't know if you know the answer to that, Tim.
I don't know the answer entirely, but I did ask about, are these the same types of cards and the same type of equipment? Is there some sort of pattern here? And the answer I got back on that is no, they are not. There's not a particular pattern. It's not a particular kind or a manufacturer.
Can the cards be redundant?
I think everything could be redundant.
Well, I mean,
but I think I know what you mean. Can we just have a couple of pieces of equipment sitting there, and if one fails, the other one starts up?
yeah. Are the cards in the 911 network, or are these in the general network? Because there's a lot of card failures, and I don't know if that's when calls being routed to the 911 network or once they're in the ESI net or the legacy network.
Yeah, that last part I do not know. It's my understanding that though each of these cards are connected to a circuit, and so we've got dedicated 911 circuits. So when a dedicated 911 circuit card fails, it's going to impact the 911 system.
Will this be
other
addressed by
potential?
the ESI net? Do we go away from cards with the ESI net?
I don't know, but I have been told that this type of outage would be mitigated by the ESI net. So I don't know the particulars about that. But I am working on a large-scale presentation to kind of walk through a lot of the things that we've talked about related to these outages as kind of a wrap up, if you will, to the ESINet deployment, so that we can kind of level set these kinds of questions for everyone.
That would be very helpful.
I'm hoping to do it by May for your I haven't got to you yet, Daryl. I told you that the other day at the task force meeting. That's what I'm shooting for. Or a separate, or just an entirely separate meeting.
Okay, and yeah, we can talk about the best forum for that. I don't know if it's the ESENet users group that would be the best forum or the full task force, but we'll discuss that with the task force.
But I think it would be very helpful to us once everyone's on. You know, we're still shooting for the end of March. I know there's a couple of P-steps that, you know, maybe we need to spill over another week. I know folks are working that out with the vendors, but you know, ideally we'll be done by the end of the quarter, and then that way we can kind of talk globally to everyone, because everyone will be on the same platform at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Daryl's going to check to see what time the issue was noticed at the PSAP, if that information is available. Tim is working on a presentation on how to walk through how the network works on the ESENet to give us a better idea of what these cards do, hopefully, potentially. I don't know if they'll get to that level of detail or not.
Well, that's what I've asked for. I outlined a whole bunch of things, so
okay.
I've got that one in particular, and then, you know, some of the things that we've talked about over the past, you know, year, I suppose, around, you know, why is your center impacted but your neighbors isn't, or 5 are impacted across the state but the other 90 aren't, and that sort of thing. So I want to kind of really those details without getting into a huge technical presentation, but that's kind of what I would like to really drill down to.
Right.
So,
and then we can pivot to, and then what do we do next with this thing?
Kimberly, you had something?
well, I'm just curious, what was the date of this outage again?
December 10th.
Okay, because I mean, we migrated Chaffee County, so this was before we migrated.
Yeah, this was just before.
Okay.
It's my understanding.
I know.
I think I was looking at the calendar. I think it just happened just before.
Yeah, we migrated Ellie on December 17th, but.
And this was an alley only issue.
Okay.
Yeah, so their calls had been migrated over at that point, if I recall correctly, but not their alley.
Yeah, we were struggling there, but okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments on this outage before we move on to the next one? And nothing heard, but we will be keeping that one on the radar for next meeting. Then we've got 2 new ones. Unfortunately, we've had 2 basic emergency service outages so far in 2021, and they both meet the criteria for this working group. The first one was on January 11th. This was in Rangeley, Colorado. The trigger was the duration of the outage, which was over 4 hours. It was 5.68 hours. And have I even sent this? I don't know if I've even sent this to Tim. No, these last 2 I have not even sent to Tim yet.
Yeah, you haven't sent them to me yet. You sent them to the group.
Responses, right. I sent them to the group. So the first step is I send them out to the group and say, does anybody have any additional questions they would like to add, so that I can send it to CenturyLink once, requesting a response. So we'll just go over this briefly. The 3 questions I have are, what was the cause of this outage? What we have up here in the report is that trouble is under investigation and is still showing type unknown. Now, sometimes we'll get that when CenturyLink provides the final report, which is due 30 days after the initial notification. Sometimes that's when we'll get the cause type. So it's very possible that CenturyLink already knows that. They just haven't reported it to us yet. The second item was, what was the cause of the long duration of the outage? The third was, what can be done to reduce the likelihood of a similar outage in the future? Does anybody have anything additional they wish to ask? And if there's anybody on here from Rangeley, I would be interested in hearing your depiction of what happened with this. I do show that this was another alley-only outage.
I'm sorry, I didn't get everything you were saying, but it seems to me that we should be asking if these are things will be mitigated by the ESI net.
Yep, and I'm adding that question right here as part of number 3 because it's kind of the same thing. I'm looking, I do not see anybody's name that I recognize from Rangeley, so I don't think they're on the call. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add or questions they want to ask about this outage in Rangeley before we look at the last one? Okay, nothing heard. Our last outage to look at is Grand County. This is 2102. This occurred on, well, the outage end date isn't in here because I didn't have it yet at the time that I created this report, but it started on the 18th, and I believe we had an end date. Let me see if I can pull that up. I have too many folders, way too many folders.
Agreed. Let's see if I can find that final for you, Daryl.
All right, we've got
Looks like on the 22nd.
yeah, 22nd. So at 2:09 in the morning. So not quite 4 full days. So it was a very long duration outage. So we're well, that's one of the reasons why it has been added. The other reason was because the initial notification to commission staff said that this was actually an alley outage in Routt County rather than a total outage in Grand County, which is what it was. So I wanted to drill down on why that miscommunication occurred. So my first question was, why is the notification to commission staff incorrect? And I noted that the initial notification received by commission stated that this was an alley outage in Routt County. What was the cause of the long duration of this outage? What can be done to reduce the likelihood of a similar outage in the future, or to reduce the duration of the similar outage? Is there anybody from Grand County on the line, first of all? I don't see anybody in the participant list. And for anybody else, does anybody else have any questions about this outage?
I think the same question of how the ESI net will affect it if
Yeah.
it hasn't already been installed by that date.
And unfortunately, I don't think that would help in this case, but I'll wait for CenturyLink's official response on this. My understanding is this was caused by a garbage truck that took out some overhead lines.
And a couple of poles.
And a couple of poles. So if there's no redundancy between those 2 points, and I remember us talking about this as part of the 911 Network Diversity Working Group, that we very rarely get outages in the last mile from the central office to the PSAP, but I think this is one of those. But I'll add this as a question, say,
Yeah, I think what's gonna probably help with the ESINet and this particular one is, even though the connection to Grand was down, the calls that routed to Routt did not have alley. So in the future, those rerouted calls should also have alley.
so at least the contingency that's in place to help mitigate the outage would have been more complete.
Right. That's my understanding of it. So that's something that I'll make sure we get good clarification on.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments regarding this outage? Okay, so like I said, the next step on this one is that I'll send it to Tim, even though Tim's on the call today. I will send it to Tim with a requested response date, and so we can get some actual text in there from CenturyLink.
Hey, Daryl, did the updated report from Laura correct the locations?
Let me
Her
see.
3-day, I think she had the 3-day report that was due.
Oh,
I thought she said she was going to try to correct it, but I wasn't sure if she did or not. It'll certainly be corrected by final, but I just wanted to make sure. We still need to run that down internally to get that, make sure it's corrected.
So for those on the call, CenturyLink, as part of its agreement related to the merger with Level 3, provides the commission with copies of its NORS reports that it gives to the Federal Communications Commission. They're considered confidential according to the terms of the agreement, so we're not able to actually use those as they relate to these publicly available outage reports. But I do think she corrected that one with the FCC, but I don't know. Let's see, what was the last thing we got on HOTS? Yeah, so the last one we got from Laura on the Grand County outage does show Hot Sulphur Springs instead of Routt County, so that it was corrected.
Okay, great.
And I see it says this outage was caused when aerial fiber and poles were damaged by a garbage truck. It's still showing that it was an alley-only outage when it really wasn't. If you're having your 911 calls routed to a non-emergency line, then it's not. It's a total outage for the purposes that we're using here. But yeah, so we'll send this. I'll send this to you, Tim, for your responses.
Yep.
And with that, I want to thank everyone for coming to an extra meeting. I would like to get these down to a manageable number so we can handle them in one monthly call instead of two. But if we have to keep a 2-week pace for a while, then we will. Our next call would be, yep, it's 2 weeks from now, so that's February 9th at 2 p.m. And here's knocking on wood that we don't have a lot of outages between now and then. And you'll notice, because I've got this on the screen, I want to explain this. So we got another outage notification about a cut in Walsh, Colorado. It's not a basic emergency service outage because it doesn't affect the PSAP. It only affects residents in the Walsh area, which is southeast of Springfield, way down the southeast corner of the state. Because it's not a basic emergency service outage, it doesn't trigger our special investigations, which are specifically about basic emergency service. So if anybody's seeing that on that page and wondering why we're not doing a special investigation on it, despite the duration of the outage, that's the reason.
Darrell?
Yes.
Before we end the call, just if Tim's working on a presentation that's going to address some of these issues, back, I think it was 2015, we had a rulemaking proceeding, and during it, there was a Verizon outage, and they blamed it on failure of CenturyLink cards. And so apparently there's cards peppered all over the damn network that can cause these problems. And I'd kind of like to understand where they are that they can affect 911 calling, the broader scope of cards.
There's more cards than a 3-card money table here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not gonna like the answer, Joe, that there are probably 1 million of them.
There every place where you have 2 lines connecting? Is that the whole point, or to a switch or a router?
It's to a router, right?
Okay. And do we still have those in the ESI net, or is that just where we have a non-IP network connection?
Good question. I mean, the majority of the cards are for transport routing. So so we're still gonna, even in the ESINet world, there'll still be cards as
Okay.
part of the network to route traffic, but we'll drill down into those things for you all.
Thank you.
Because we do keep hearing them, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Card failure. So we're trying to get I'm personally trying to get a better handle on understanding that as well. So keep all those questions handy.
Well, thank
But
you,
hopefully
Tim.
I will have gotten them answered for you.
We would appreciate that. Does anybody else have anything else for the good of the group before we adjourn? All right. Well, thank you very much. I'll give you a few minutes back, and I'll talk to you all in a couple weeks. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.